It's 7 p.m. and it's Tuesday night. I got my laptop on and I feel alright. I got a few joints rolled and my munchies made. Got my headphones on and I close the door, don't disturb me. It's time to stand up tall and say some things about the shitty world we're living in with the boys at RACONTEURS News. To RACONTEURS, to RACONTEURS, to RACONTEURS News, RACONTEURS News, RACONTEURS News, RACONTEURS News, RACONTEURS News. Oh yeah.
Good evening and welcome to RACONTEURS News, folks. It's Tuesday, it's 7 o'clock and and I'm having a few technical problems with this Google Hangout. I've got Paul along with me tonight and we're going to have a general chat, but
it's technically 10 past 7.
Well, yeah, sort of. It's, yeah, well, sort of 8 minutes and a bit, but sorry we're a bit late, folks. Just been trying to add Joan, but I don't know what's going on with Joan. She seems to be getting into a hangout all on her own. So we'll keep trying to sort. Let's have a look. Hey, I'm here. That's that. But so's Paul Webster. I don't get.
Who?
Hello.
That's me, isn't it? Is that not me?
Is that the same?
Some people say it's not me.
Okay. You're already in. Take me there. Okay, guys. Not now. Right, got it. There we go. So we should have Joan on the call now. Hello. Are you there, Joan? Paul's fine on YouTube. That's awesome. It seems I've joined the call with Joan, but for some reason I can't see.
I can't see her here either.
Let me have a look. She's when I click to join the call to help center. Yes, I've a load. Oh, bless. Right, let me just have a look at my control room. Joan's not showing up on the call. Right. Let's have a look. No, that's not going to work. Showcase, screen share.
You don't see this happening on the BBC News.
No, this is definitely not the BBC. But anyway, Joan, keep trying, and I'd really love you to join us tonight because it's always fantastic to chat with you. And Joan does her own show on People's Internet Radio, so I'd be really interested to find out what she's been up to lately because she's on just after we are on a. Got an error message saying I'm not allowed to join this call. So well, I'm
using Chrome.
Sorry,
is she using Chrome or Firefox?
Right, I'll ask her.
I had that problem. I had to get Chrome.
Okay. Yeah, so we hoping to have a chat, but in the meantime, till Joan gets sorted out and can join us, we've certainly got plenty to talk about this week, haven't we, Paul?
Well, where is it you want to start under? Because,
well,
I mean, if you want to start with Boris Johnson, right? I mean, it starts with this David Davis. There's people who I know who actually say that this David Davis is a good guy, you know, but he's got that position in the Tory party. He's told a line at least up to some point. Maybe he has got that integrity. Maybe that's why he's walked away, because that Brexit deal is just like, well, that's just, so we're staying there, isn't it then? We're just staying there. There's absolutely no point to it. Everything commercial was staying. and that's exactly what they wanted, and that keeps that anchor. Where do you want to start with? What happens now? I mean, is Boris up for trying to get the leadership? Is May going to step down? Is she going to get voted out? This is now all drama for us to look at.
It's drama, but do you think this, for once, is actually a real drama, or just this more of the horse and pony show that's a distraction from the, is it a Brexit or isn't it a Brexit? Is it a bird, a plane, Superman? No, it's Brexit.
That's it. Nobody knows, do we?
No,
nobody knows, because there's got to be people who toe a party line to a certain extent, and they get to certain places. When you get higher up in the places, I believe that there's something that you're going to cross a line at some point where you can't come back from. I mean, there's people who are causing all kinds of mischief, and that's leading to a lot of deaths, and they're just doing it on balance sheets. I know bosses that have stated in meetings that it's all about the figures. So it's got nothing to do with production. It's got nothing to do with health and safety. If it's cost worthy, that it can cut corners and they can legislate for it, which they do a lot, then that's you can see where this is crumbling.
Yeah, I get you. I see there's kind of changes and shuffles going on, but I'm always a bit wary when you see these things. I mean, look, Jeremy Hunt's, what was he disgraced that he resigned from? I've lost track of it all now, but suddenly he's going to be the new Foreign Secretary.
Well, that's what I mean. Somebody posted something on Twitter about, well, Jeremy Hunt, I think you've really made a good move for your career, because you've been known as a wanker throughout this country, and now you're going to be known as a wanker throughout all the countries.
Yes, I thought that was pretty apt, that one, yeah. It's, yeah, we are actually, as well, we're live on Facebook tonight, which we haven't been for a long time. It's saying end live video, but I can't see whether there's actually anybody watching or not. It's very, very strange. Yeah, no, yes, that's it. It's live, but nobody's watching. There we go. That's why. So I'll share it onto your timeline and Jason's, and then we can hopefully get a few people listening. So,
well, for the ones who are listening, they might want an update of Jason.
Yes, now that is where I really wanted to start it tonight, because I've been absolutely overwhelmed with the messages that have been flooding through for Jason, wishing him well and offering all sorts of help and advice. People have just been absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I've just got a message through from Dinny that there's a good crowd there on the YouTube, and we will get Joan on as soon as we possibly can. The only reason we're waiting for her is she needs to install Google Chrome before she can get on that. Got to point that out to her. So, yeah. Regarding Jason, it was obviously quite a desperate situation last week. When you realised that his leg was going to have to come off, and I saw quite a turn in him, that he suddenly looked to be getting more positive. Now, yesterday we set off to go to Sheffield and see him, and I was very apprehensive about it, because I'm not good in hospitals at the best of times. They smell of puke and shit, and
there's sick people as well.
Well, that's it. There's a lot of sick people in there, and I didn't really know what frame of mind I was going to find Jason in after he'd had his op. But we got in there yesterday, and when we eventually found our way through the maze that is Northern General Hospital at Sheffield, I walked into this little bay where he is, and there's the little whiteboards where everybody's got their name up. And I saw one that said Jason Holmes, and underneath it in capital letters, RN. I thought, well, I bet he's put that down there. It turns out that's the initials of his consultant.
All right.
Maybe that's a good sign. I hope it is. But we went round, and big smile and a big hug from Jason as soon as we got there. And he got in his mobility scooter, and we went out, and we had a bit of time in the day room, and we kind of went out. He came out with us when we went out for a smoke. And he, apart from a few little bits of weirdness, and he's still getting quite a bit of pain, but nothing like he was getting before.
Joan's with us, Andy, sorry.
Oh, Joan's with us. Excellent.
Hi,
Hi,
Joan.
Andy. Hi, Paul. How you doing?
Oh,
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
great.
I had a good laugh at your link today with the cockatoos.
Yeah.
So I'm away to buy a laser pen for my parrot. How you doing, Andy?
Oh, I'm great. I saw that link as well. I thought it was hilarious. Yeah.
We've all had a good laugh about it. We need a laugh too, eh?
Oh, you've got to have a laugh. And I was just saying about going to see Jason yesterday. You know, it's a bit of an apprehensive moment for me, but I was just astounded at how well he looks. I mean, he's lost about 3.5 stone while he's been ill, so he didn't have a lot of spare fat on him anyway. So he's looking pretty skinny and emaciated. But you know, his whole demeanor seems to have improved since he's taken this decision to take control and to take his leg off. Now, for anybody else to say, "Oh yeah, my leg's a bit knackered, I'm going to have it took off," I'd think, ooh, have you thought about that? You know, but really, it's made such a difference in Jason. I mean, it was clearly getting to a situation where it was life-threatening, and there wasn't a lot of time to do anything about it. But having seen him now, I mean, I was very concerned about how he was going to get through the op, given this the physical battering he's had from the NHS lately. But you know, his whole attitude towards his recovery and his physio and that sort of thing is pretty amazing. He's got 1 or 2 weird effects, which I was going to tell you about, but actually I think I might leave that to Jason, because he said that him and Heath are going to come on and try and join us about 7:45.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. I'm just glad to hear he's doing well.
Jason's weird enough, and he's from Sheffield.
Yeah, well, you can't say too much about Sheffield when you're up there, because they're all from Sheffield around there. So it was dead funny. We got lost in the hospital, and we were walking around and couldn't find where we wanted to be. So I saw this guy pushing a trolley with whatever was in this trolley, and I said, "Hey, mate, can you tell us where we want to be for this particular ward?" And he went, "Oh yeah, you want to be down there in the lift, up a block, let it go along." And then the other bloke went, "I'm taking a notice of him. He doesn't even work here. He's no idea where he's talking." Go down there, turn right, and it's on your right. So that's what we did, and we found him. But
so is he home already?
No, he's not home yet.
He's not at home, right?
When he first found out that was what was going to happen, he was expecting to be in hospital maybe a week or 2 at the tops. Then when he went through his pre-op assessment last week, they were telling him 8 to 10 weeks. But having spoken to him yesterday, he seems to be pretty convinced that he's going to be home a lot quicker than that. So I do hope that is the case.
Good, because we do get one better at home, don't we? Hospitals are full of sick people.
I've already used that one, Joan. It's not a place I like.
It's always good to get home when we've been in the hospital. Always good. So it'll be great if you can join us later on. That'll be lovely.
That would be absolutely. I've sent in the link anyway, so they'll just jump on as and when they're ready. Did you hear what we was talking about before you joined?
No, I was too busy sorting my techie issues. I'm quite proud of myself, actually. I never used to be able to do techie stuff.
I realise that quite a few of our listeners know full well who you are because they've seen you around in the chat room over the time that Raconteurs has been going.
Mm-hmm.
But for those who don't know who you are, Joan, can you just give them a bit of an introduction and tell them how you came across all this sort of stuff, how you got involved, and to what extent you've become involved yourself?
Well, I've been listening to various people for years, yourself included. I listen to alternative radio sites. I don't watch television. I haven't done for a long, long time. I've never really liked watching television. So I've been listening to all you guys and researching the stuff that you're putting out. And I've ended up doing a show on another site myself because a lot of the hosts left and everything. But I feel it's important to keep trying to get the messages out. So lately we've been covering things like 5G. I'm going to be speaking to Joan next week. I loved your show with John. Absolutely loved that. He's a fantastic guy. So yeah, my mission now is to get the message out, and particularly about 5G and smart meters at the moment. That's a biggie that threatens us all. Not just us, but the whole environment, animals, wildlife, everything. Plant life, the lot. So that's the biggie at the moment. That's the one we're focusing on. Really interested in common law. I don't know if you've seen that there's been a common law court in Scotland held just lately. It was in June. So people are now beginning to become more aware of the corruption and look for alternatives to the system that is basically taking the mickey out of us all. I
did see that common law court. I saw a few little links about it. Can you tell us a bit more about that, Joan? Because I couldn't really dig into it with what I saw.
Well, it's people have come together and decided, because they're not getting justice within the courts, they're trying to put together common law courts. Now, it's a common law group of various countries. In fact, there are countries worldwide, but the one in particular is they're looking for people to set up common law courts in Ireland, Wales, England and Scotland. And they're saying that if each country can get enough cases and move this forward, then this could perhaps become an alternative to the corrupt system at the moment that we have. They held one in Scotland in June and set up a jury and have actually delivered verdicts. And one of the things is to return a child to its home, to its mum. And they've served papers and everything to try and get this done. So it's early days, it's in its infancy. Yeah. So I'm just hoping, I have issues with it, Andy, that some of the terms that they're using is quite legalese, like appellant and claimant and stuff. For me, with common law, I would be wanting to use the term man and woman, because that's what we are, rather than these legalese languages. But I am hoping that something comes of this, because it's Great Britain and international. They've set up a website there, and I'll put the link in just shortly. And what they're saying is, if they can get enough in each country, then we should be able to start using this system rather than the corrupt system that basically we're using now. They've recently received a threatening letter from an associate somewhere because they're not happy with what they're doing. So we'll wait and see how it goes. But I'm just keen to see anything that can take us away from the corruption we currently live in.
I get it, John. Yeah. Well, that's an absolute noble cause. I am really delighted to see you doing your own radio show now, because you've been an avid listener and supporter of People's Internet Radio for a long time now. You were one of the most loyal people in the chat room all the time we were there, and it was beautiful because you weren't shy about calling up and having a chat with us. If we got a night where we got no guest and we invited people to call in, it's always tricky to do that, isn't it? Because people seem to get quite shy about calling in, don't they?
Oh, it took me a long time to actually do that, but I loved listening to you. I mean, your Saturday afternoon show, I used to love catching that before I went to work. And then you went, so I had to follow you on another site, was it? Autonomous Media for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And then you went back to RACONTEURS News. Yeah, you guys have always shared such interesting stuff, and you're real. That's what counts for me. You're not, you know, some media pundit sitting there telling us what the script they've been told to tell us is. You're someone who tells it from the heart, and so is Webby Paul. Sorry, I've listened to you as well, obviously, and I'd much rather listen to real people than listen to the absolute bollocks, that we get from media, from mainstream media.
Well, I like to talk to real people who are actually doing something, or, you know, who fell into something, because I've never said that anybody should, I've never advocated anybody to just dive into this. And there's a few people contacting me today saying that, you know, should I pay this? And when you talk to them, you know that just by the answers that they give, they don't want anybody coming to the door. They don't want any court stuff. So all they're left with is pay it. But I said, learn what it is, learn it, but pay it. It's whatever keeps your family life going, because, you know, it isn't something that you can just play with, this stuff. If you've got, like, you know, 2-3 kids and a mortgage, and you've got all these imaginary bills that you've got to pay for in a system you can't pay it, but you don't understand that way, because that's never been taught to you. You're lost in that world, and all of a sudden people start questioning that pulls up all the anchors. I had to unlearn everything. You know, it's a bit perturbing. You know, people don't want to know it, even though they know they're getting ripped off, but that's what you're up against.
I think it's a fear and a lack of confidence, Paul, that make people just go back to doing what we're doing. I had one guest on, a guy called Delamitri from Ireland, and he did a lot of work and worked out that we're paying somewhere around 90% of our earnings in taxes. It's crazy. You know, and when you think about it, we are. I was to begin with, I'm like, no, we can't possibly be. But then when you look at everything, we're financial slaves. And yeah, it takes people like you to educate people like me to move out of that system. And the more people that do that, the better, because until we say enough's enough, I mean, Israel's a biggie for me. I don't know about you, but the situation in Palestine's a biggie for me. I had Chris Coverdale on with me. Have you heard of Chris?
Not sure. It does ring a bell.
He advocates that basically we should all stop paying taxes because they're funding war. And he's looking for a way around the system to allow people to do that. And he's set up loads of templates and things for people to use. But for me, the stuff that's going on in Palestine and Syria and Iran and everywhere where we're committing atrocities, that I don't think any common man or woman wants to go and inflict that or those atrocities on other men and women and children. But our so-called governments continually take us into these situations. Government's no good for us, is it?
Well, the governments are just there to keep these wars going because of it's a bit of control. It's not to do with so much money anymore. They've got more money. or whatever they think we think money is, all the gold, everything that they want, but they just want that more thing. And you start getting dragged in when you're talking about Israel. You start talking about why does Israel want all this upset around all these lands, and then it goes into the Greater Israel Project, and people don't understand what kind of politics is going on over in the Middle East. Everybody just thinks it's about oil, but they can justify it because, you know, they use that oil. So as long as it's not affecting their lives, it always comes back to me for that, Joan, that if it doesn't affect people's lives, they tend to do nothing. You know, I've come across this phrase a couple of times today about, you know, for evil to persist, all it takes is good men to do nothing.
To do nothing. Yeah.
I've said many a time that I'm not sure I would have been the one, you know, stood on a hill with a kilt on shouting freedom about this stuff if it not come round, kick me in the balls and punch me in the teeth and everything. You know, it was a time, a rough time that you was trying to juggle a lot of, you know, you're spinning in a lot of plates and trying to learn everything as you're going. Your filing system was not a filing system on different pieces of your furniture. To try and put all this stuff together, and then something else comes along, and everything starts falling into place. But it's completely against everything that you've ever been taught,
and therefore very stressful. Oh,
I didn't get any of that, Joan. You froze.
Oh, sorry. I'm saying, and therefore very stressful, Paul. And again, it takes things in individuals' life to make them look beyond what they're used to. Yeah, whether it's the football, I mean, that's driving me potty at the moment.
Somebody said it's coming on.
22 men kicking a pig's bladder about. What are they on, you know?
It's a beautiful game. Don't ruin it.
It is.
Already ruined it.
Potty at all, Joan, because the only time I ever know anything about it is when I go on Facebook.
Yeah.
Absolutely no idea what's going on or any interest.
No, see, I used to enjoy football when I was younger. My dad used to take me. But when you realise that that's all part of the division that separates us all, my own personal philosophy is that we've all become so disconnected from nature and each other because of the programming and various things that are going on. And that unless we can get that connection back, then those, let's call them the elite, I don't think they're elite at all, but they continue, they do, yeah. The definition of elite seems different to me, but the greed of the elite is never going to be satisfied. Never, ever going to be satisfied. So they'll keep this going until we can come together as men and women and find that connection again. Not just with each other, but with nature and taking care of nature, our friends, our families, and men and women and children everywhere. So I can't sit in Scotland and say it's okay for you to go and bomb, you know, in Palestine or Syria or Iran or anything like that. I can't do that because that's just not, it's not something I could approve of at all. Nobody has the right to kill another man, woman or child. Nobody.
Here's the thing, Joan. I was having a discussion with my other half last night. I think probably it was last night or the night before. And we were talking about people getting offended. People get offended at the most ridiculous things. People get offended when you use a particular swear word that their parents taught them was absolutely evil, and you'll go to hell and you'll burn forever if you use that swear word. Usually it's the one beginning with a C. People don't like to hear that one. Fair enough. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But how offensive is that when you consider there are children being beaten, tortured, raped by those who are in position,
Murdered.
authority and power over us. They damn well shouldn't be, but they are. How offensive is that? Or any of the things that people get offended at? You see, they'll get offended when somebody calls them a name in the street. But when their government tells them that there's no money for the NHS, and bear in mind, no money for the NHS. Walking around that ward that Jason was on yesterday, I noticed there are multiple posters on the notice boards. And believe you me, the design and quality of those posters, they didn't get 1 million printed for 10p.
Yeah.
They spent a lot of money on them. And one of them tells you that you must not, there's zero tolerance on abuse, but particularly hate speech towards two groups of people, Muslims and Jews. So, okay, they won't tolerate you saying anything unkind about Muslims or Jews. But every man jack who pays their taxes is condoning their government spending about 14 million quid a throw on bombs to bomb the shit out of their country and to kill and maim women, children, civilians and innocent people.
Yeah, and £92,000 a hit in chemotherapy.
If that's not offensive, I don't know what the hell is. I really don't.
Well, see, I come from the perspective that words are only words. You know, words can't be good or bad. If people choose to take offence from that, then I think they really need to look at themselves, because they'll spend their life quite upset, won't they?
Well, you get a lot of problems, don't you? Because sometimes I've texted people and then I've got a text back saying, oh, well, if you're not really that bothered. I went, hang on a minute. My text says, yeah, that'd be great. Let me know what time you're coming. And it was, well, it seemed a bit insipid. I went, how does a text seem insipid? I went, surely that's your emotion that you're putting into that text. I went, I didn't put that intent. And I've been going, oh, yes, that's great. Let me know when. Do you know, it gets lost in translation.
Yeah, well, people, you know, language, the use of language has become so imprecise, and words mean so many different things to so many different people, and the way you read those texts depends on the mood that you're in, the view of the person you've got who's sending you the text, and so many different things. Yet if you put the right smiley emoticons on, they're fine with it. They don't give a shit what you mean, as long as it's got 3 smileys, a love heart and a... Unless
they think you're being sarcastic. Unless they think you're being sarcastic.
Yeah.
So then they're sarcastic back.
But see, that's part of the problem as well. People are beginning to rely on phones to not beginning. It's become the thing.
Oh, the lifelines, yeah.
Do you know, it's frightening how many young people sit together but don't actually converse. I've seen young people text each other in the same room. And, well, why aren't you speaking? Why aren't you talking to each other? Why do you have to, you know, text? And I watched a thing on Facebook not so long ago that they were all at a party and each and every one of them were holding their phones.
Yeah.
Now that for me isn't a party.
It's strange because I'm at the moment where I work, there's been an influx of younger staff, and the ones that for those type of generations, they can't converse with people. There's number one, the young people, so they've not got the life experience, but they can't converse because they only speak in sound bites. Do you know what I mean? And that is a lot to do with being stuck in the phone. You know, it does make things a lot easier, but when you're in a mobile phone-free environment, you certainly see it affect people's behaviour differently.
Yeah, and I wonder what it's doing to their ability to communicate and to their ability to build relationships when their relationship seems to be with their mobile phone. You know, their most important relationships seem to be with their mobile phone. So it's frightening. I'm glad that I'm not a young'un nowadays and getting caught up in that. In fact, I've thrown a few mobile phones away at times.
The family unit's been attacked. It's been destroyed, the family unit.
That's all been part of the agenda for quite some time. I mean, you're going back to Simone Beauvoir and her feminism and everything else. The family unit has been attacked, and they continue to attack it. And the latest thing, now, was there 69 or 70 genders identified in gender identity theory in Canada? What on earth's that about? There's two. There's men and there's male and female, simple as.
Do you know, I caused a debate earlier today, not a massive one, well, not last time I saw it anyway, but it was that somebody had joked that if you're confused, look down your pants. If you've got a penis, you're a man. If you've got a vag, you're a female. And then it started because you can't make that blanket debate. Well, if we're going to just make the blanket debate, let's just say it's biological, because I can't understand there being any other genders than the male and the female. I think everything else, for me, would have to be a feeling. So where that feeling comes from, that should be explored before you start cutting yourself to bits.
Absolutely.
But
and
that is now being promoted. It's being promoted, John. Kids between 4 and 9-year-old got 40 a week going to transgender clinics because they're confused. I didn't know which bike I wanted to play on.
Exactly. Between 4 and 9, you shouldn't even be thinking about things like that. You should be playing. You should be enjoying a childhood. But that's all part of the agenda too. I mean, in Norway, some of the stuff they're teaching in the schools, and not just in Norway, in quite a few countries. In Canada, I don't know if you saw the guy, Jordan Peterson.
Yes, I did, yes.
He was attacked for refusing to use the words that these...
Transgender pronouns.
Yeah. What's that about? You know, it's natural and normal, I would think, for us to say he and she. But if he doesn't use the word that a certain person wants them to use, then he's been attacked. He was almost sacked. They were trying to sack him. Now, that is beyond belief. I am not saying that, you know, people can't explore their sexuality or whatever, each to their own. But don't tell me there's 70-odd genders, because that's just simply not the case.
No, I think there might be 70 other personalities that might come under that gender. You know, there might be even more. I don't know, but I just know that I've spoken to people on the show who don't believe that there's any agendas that's ever being pushed, and that is a touch too beyond. Yeah, he could quite easily tell me that we've not been to the moon or everything about JFK or anything like that. But that's a little bit stretched too far. And I think if you don't stretch it too far and you don't look, you're not going to see where these dots are that all join. Some of them are massive miles away. But when you tinker it back, and a lot of the time they always say follow the money. Well, you follow that trail and it always comes back to the same places. Is it just the banks? No, there's a lot more to it than that. There is a lineage, shall we say, of these families that have always been thereabouts. Whenever these empires have come up and down, and you know, they've been through Europe, they've been everywhere. And now I've had time to look into all that, and yet people say that's a load of shit. And I'm like, well, have you read any of this? No. Well, go and read it. Oh, I've not got time for that. So people cognitive dissonance that very easily, but as it starts to affect people's lives, I've seen it locally recently, that when it starts to squeeze on people's lives, they start reaching out thinking, there's something not right here, I need to do something now. Because the tide, I felt the tide's definitely turned in the 10 years I've been doing it.
Yeah, I think so. In the last year or so, I see
it's definitely sped up. Yeah,
but it has to. It has to. People need only look at the Georgia Guidestones.
Oh, there's one. Just before we go on to the Georgia Guidestones, there's a few interesting comments in the chat on YouTube. For some reason, it appears we're live on Facebook, but it's not letting anybody see it.
Excellent.
You might want to about that. Maybe we've mentioned that country whose name shall not be mentioned too many times for Mr. Zuckerberg's liking. I'm sure that might have some bearing. Or maybe it's just me being a total dick with the technology. But Tony's said, welcome. It's good to see you again, Tony. He said, we're the last generation to be grounded in reality. Today's children will have a journey unlike anything that's gone before. Their virtual identity is worth more to them than real life decisions. And he said, it's about chromosomes. You've either got XX or you've got XY. End of story. And another one I'd just like to bring in, it's Andrew Fletcher's just come up with a new invention while he's been listening to you. And he said, mobile phones. Drill a hole in them so you can see where you're going.
Good idea. Yeah. Mobile phones. You know, we thought it was the first mobile phone we had, because I was a manager at that time, was that big brick, you know. Yeah, and I hated it then, and I didn't like them then. And like I say, I only really use it for family and stuff like that. I'd rather not have one. I'd rather return to the days when we didn't have to have mobiles and not constantly be interrupted by, you know, people phoning. Or
I remember the days when people couldn't find out where the hell you were.
We could get up to mischief then.
And now you turn up on phone apps and you're being congratulated on getting home when you've not even realised you're home yourself.
Well,
yep.
I saw somebody posting yesterday on Facebook about a new job they got, and it's somebody who's moved to a different part of the world. They're up in Oban in Scotland, and they'd said about this new job they got working in a hotel, basically helping out all around the hotel. It's only a small 21-bed hotel, and I thought, oh, good for you. But they're on minimum wage. Okay, they're going to be working hard for what money they do get. But one of the things they said at the end was something I'm not very happy about. I've got to have a smartphone for my job. So for making beds and doing breakfast and helping out behind the bar in a hotel, you need a smartphone. What the hell's that all about? You know, unless maybe it's a smart hotel and everything's controlled by a phone app. I don't know, but it sounds really... And surely, if you're required to have an electronic device to perform that job, then it seems obvious that your employer should provide you with said device. Don't you think?
Well, if they wanted me to do a job for them, they'd be supplying me with it.
Yeah,
well, I remember when mobiles first come out, you were saying about the big bricks, Joan. I was a truck driver back in them days, and I used to have one of the big bricks in my cab. You know, it got like a car battery with a big handle on it and a lever on the top and all that. And it used to cost thick end of £1 a minute to make calls.
My dad had CB, mate.
Well, I remember going out one night, and it wasn't a particularly pleasant job. We used to go out on night shift and collect live chickens from chicken farms and take them to the processing plant.
Oh, this isn't going to sound good.
I won't go into that bit because it was particularly gruesome. But what we used to do, we used to take the big brick in the cab, the first guy who went out, and then the last guy who came back would bring the brick back with him. So we'd always got a phone on site if anybody got a breakdown or anything like that. But what happened one particular night was there was a phone call made because something was going wrong, and there was about an 8-hour delay. Well, whoever made the first phone call forgot to press the end call button. So that phone was connected all the time that the battery lasted, and the battery lasted just short of 12 hours. And a penny a minute, a pound a minute, that's a lot. And I was almost in the frame for that. That was when I became really glad that I used to keep a diary, because it turned out that it wasn't my fault, it was somebody else's. My memory wouldn't have been good enough going back a few months to when the bill arrived to say who got the phone, but the diary saved me neck then. But I was so hateful of those mobile phones, because one of the biggest things that I used to enjoy about truck driving was the fact that you were out there on your own. You'd be given a job to do, you'd be given the paperwork, you jump in your cab, off you go, and when you'd finished, you'd ring up on a landline phone, one of them old-fashioned things that plug in the wall, and ask for another job. Or you just go back to base, they give you another job, and you go off and do that. But then suddenly, when they get a mobile phone in the cab next to you, it's like having the gaffer sat next to you 24 hours a day. They'd even ring you when you were on your breaks, and they'd ring you when you'd signed off at night, and the time was spent to be your own.
I don't know if you've checked out Barry Trower on Wi-Fi, but he's certainly one for checking out as well.
We're trying to get Barry back on, aren't we, Andy?
Yeah, I was looking at getting Barry back.
Of course, you have had Barry on, yeah.
The only downside we're trying to get Barry on is he's very true to his beliefs, in that he doesn't use any of these devices. He doesn't have a computer, he doesn't have a mobile phone, he won't use one. If you want to talk to Barry, you either go to his house or you do it on the phone. So it would be very difficult to get him on this. I think there's a way we could do it, but unfortunately we wouldn't have a video feed for Barry. But I think, given the information that he's got to share, I think it'd be worthwhile doing and just having a blank screen when Barry's talking, don't you?
Yeah. Another one I knows his stuff. And has a lot to say about the damage. I mean, our children these days are exposed to Wi-Fi in schools, at home. I know children who are getting through mega gigabytes of data because they're constantly playing on their phones or their tablets or their computers. I just wonder what that's going to do to them long term.
Well, I do remember we had Barry on with Sarah Goodley. Sarah was, until she had to stop doing it for family reasons, she was kind of our the health side of Raconteurs News. And she was very concerned about the damage that was being done to mitochondrial DNA by Wi-Fi and 3G. Well, now we're going up to 5G, and that all that damage is just going to be exponential. But I remember Barry saying, I'm pretty sure he was saying that at least 80% of the young people who are using laptops and Wi-Fi in schools are going to grow up to be unable to have children.
Infertile, yeah.
That was the word I was looking for.
Yeah, and that's a major worry, and that brings us back nicely to the Georgia Guidestones. It's there, it's in black and white or in grey, marble, whatever. They want to reduce the population to 500 million. That means getting rid of 7 billion of us.
Essentially, if you think about it, using a technology that's going to make a vast swathe of the population sterile, you don't really need to kill a lot of people.
No.
All you need to do is make the young people infertile, wait for the old ones to die, and that's it. Suddenly you've got a vastly reduced population. And I've seen there's some, it's not Stratfor, but one of these military contractors in the US, they're making predictions about the future, and they're saying that in 2025 there's going to be like a 90% reduction in population. And if you think about it, that could well be a way that's going to happen, particularly with the rollout of 5G and the likely effects that we've heard about from Mark Steele.
Yeah. Mark's fantastic at getting the stuff out there. He's been putting a lot out, and good on the man, because again, anybody that starts to highlight these things end up being attacked. My response to that is go research the subject before you start attacking somebody that is trying to give us valid information that could possibly save our lives and save us from a lot of illnesses and disease, because that's what 5G is going to do is.
Just going back, Andy, when you said that the waiting for, the waiting for people to get old to die, they're not even waiting for that now. They're openly saying that they're killing the elderly off. Surgeons who've worked in the NHS have said we killed something like 130,000 patients a year. In what ways is this happening, and how is this getting covered up? I remember when my mum passed, the NHS said that she died of a perforated ulcer, but the surgery went fine. Everything went perfect, but they couldn't stitch her back up because she contracted MRSA from another patient on the ward, and that's what I know she died of. But that death certificate still says perforated ulcer, yet it was fine. So it makes people begin to think, where do they turn? Because you turn to the police. The police say, oh, well, no, that's a civil matter. So you go into the legal system that is there to protect all these people. These are the gatekeepers. And then you even use their own legislation. You beat them with their own legislation. And they still do what they want to do. And the police will back them up for a civil matter. You start to think, Joan, what the hell is going on? But people who haven't gone through that, when they listen to you, they understand it, they can see what's wrong. But as you said earlier, doors, there's fear.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame him for that, Joan. It's not a pleasant place to stand around in with these people who, some of them maybe genuinely think they're doing a good job, obeying law. But I'm damn sure that there's quite a few knows exactly what's going on there.
I think the majority of people actually come from a good place, and it's about not knowing what's going on. It's about being fooled, if you like, by the programming. I think they genuinely come from a good place. But I've had a friend, he recently passed away, but his mother was on that Liverpool care pathways.
Yeah.
And died in hospital.
Yeah.
Now, he was unhappy with that, and he spent something like £18,000 on solicitors to fight that case, and got absolutely nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. That's the way things
Solicitors took the money though.
Well, they're called solicitors for a reason, aren't they?
I tell you, I work with criminal elements, shall we say, and the worst criminals I've met in my life, solicitors and judges, because they either haven't got a clue what they're doing, and that means they're complacent, and they're just making exceptions willy-nilly. When you're bringing evidence forward, you're being ignored. If they don't know that they're doing that, they're not fit for the job. Yet what is done there is done there. You have no recourse right there, right then. And that is what is now being challenged. I mean, I felt alone for a long time. But when you're obsessed, when everything's on top of you like that, you do feel alone, because you don't know what the hell is going on. The system, you have no chance in the system if you're taking something from the system that the system doesn't want you to have. Yeah, you could go in there and give the system something, and they'll be as fair as they want. But you start looking at their contracts as their company members. You're going all the way back to the Crown. You're going to the ministries. because these are the ones issuing licenses. Who goes?
The Vatican.
It goes to Royal Assent, all this kind of stuff. But then we're told that the court system has been collapsed since 2008. Everything's going through Wall Street. That's why everything's financial. Well, that's the land grab then. They're just taking everything on facts and figures. There was no signatures or anything in my court case. Just all done with one court stamp. And somebody legally trained at the land registry said that we don't need signatures. It's just, if there's a court stamp on it, we just change the document. I said, so you're useless.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because people can't own the property. People don't own it. They just rent the property title. That's it.
Yeah, I remember when I was first buying a house and folk would go, "No, great, you're buying a house." I'm going, "No, not really. I'm just going to be paying a lot of money to pretend I own it." And that's the case, you know. They've got us so well conned, haven't they? So well conned.
Yeah. Andy, I've got one eye on the time though, mate. Did you want to have a break?
Yeah, that's cool. I'm just letting it run because we're in a bit of a flow there, and we started a few minutes late. But yes, unfortunately, I've got a message from Jason, and it appears that all streaming sites are blocked in the hospital. So him and Heath aren't going to be able to join us tonight, but I know they're listening. So we'll have a couple of Heath's finest tunes, and we'll be back in about 9 minutes. So have a bit of Heath's music, enjoy, and we'll be back shortly.
Hello, this is Heath Dweft, and I listen to RACONTEURS NEWS.
I like that one.
Making a goddamn nuisance of myself, poking my nose in everybody's business. Oh God, will I ever learn? Cause it always backfires on me. I can't control myself no more. So what do I do? Just stay and never go out. Every day is trouble. Every day is trouble for me. Is it my voice or my face or the clothes that I wear? Cause something's getting me noticed in a bad way. I must say, I ain't looking for a shit, but it finds me. Particularly when I'm out driving. Slow down, you know, it's around about me, not a racetrack. How the fuck did you pass your test? You're a pest, you got my heart beating in my chest. No wonder I'm so irate. Why don't you fucking indicate? I wish I had a shit gun ferret at your window, bitch. Making a goddamn nuisance of myself, poking my nose in everybody's business. Oh God, will I ever learn? Cause it always backfires on me. I can't control myself no more. So what do I do? Just stay and never go out. Every day is trouble. Every day is trouble for me. So I drive and get my shit done quick. Don't want to waste too much time on the streets with the pricks. I know they're going to take my energy. Give me road rage, then I commit a felony. Score some weed, then I drive home readily. Hang my car keys up and calm down steadily. Lays on my mind when I let them get to me. Load up on some roller J, get stone, write a melody. Start getting high, having less of the hunches. Put it on hold while I answer the munchies. Get about the dicks while I'm grinding the bunches. Really need to learn just to roll with the punches.
Algún día me perdonan, aquí te estaré esperando, porque yo era muy feliz cuando tú abrías los ojos. Andaba por la noche y andaba muy perdido, me faltaban que tus ojos me mostraran el camino, porque yo era muy feliz cuando tú abrías los ojos.
Making a goddamn nuisance of myself, poking my nose in everybody's business. Oh God, will I ever learn? Cause it always backfires on me. I can't control myself no more. So what do I do? Just stay and never go out. Every day is trouble. Every day is trouble for me. Every day is trouble. Every day is trouble. Making a goddamn nuisance of myself. Poking my nose in everybody's business. Oh God, will I ever learn? 'Cause it always backfires on me. I can't control myself no more. So why don't I just stay and never go out? Every day is trouble. 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 Every day is trouble for me. Hear this. Gonna get rain. Gonna have sunshine. Gonna chase rainbows and chase the clouds away. And we're gonna make people, gonna make music, and we're gonna have a good time. 'Cause we're gonna get high, 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 high.
I'm super fly with the rhymes I supply. Float like a butterfly high up in the sky. Stink like a bee before I touch the ground. Like Ali in his prime. Yeah, I'm loud, I'm proud. So you can another best, another twist before I get to it. Don't need to practice. What's gonna be, gonna be. Put me on your track list. I turn it to a hit list. Yeah, I know you like it. Come on, hit the back seat. I put it all in. Put your hands in the air. You feeling this? Oh yeah, I'm feeling this real vibe. I'm living it, paying bills till I make a meal. It ain't a dream, I need the cream, you know what I mean. I'm fuckers, man, can't let them lock us, man. I'm gonna make it like a new bit, new whip. Don't know about this, you must be new this. I thought you knew this, I'm forever doing this, player.
I don't wanna take you back, 'cause we're gonna fall again. I don't wanna take you back, can we just be friends? I don't wanna take you back, wanna take you back again. I don't wanna take you back. Can we just be friends?
Bring it back.
Gonna get rain. Gonna have sunshine. Gonna chase rainbows and chase the clouds away.
Yeah.
And we're gonna make people.
Hey,
Gonna make music.
come on.
And we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna get high, 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 high.
Punch to the microphone, boo, boo. I do what I want to. What the hell you gonna do? Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2. I represent, this is what I do. To any beat, anyway, I'ma give it to you. Best beware, open your ears to the truth as I push. I'm the man, I list the plan, fool. Any verse that I kick is for your mind, fool. I'm a pimp, so I be up in your mind, friend. Don't be a lame or trick up in this rap game. What's the use of the fame when you ain't paid? I go back to a decade when I got made. Got paid, got laid for the rhymes I laid. On the regular, I flow spectacular, original. My dope is natural, straight out the underground. Yeah, I'ma
Gonna get rain. Gonna have sunshine. Gonna chase rainbows and chase the clouds away. And we're gonna make people. Gonna make music. And we're gonna have a good time. 'Cause we're gonna get high, 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 high. Let's get stoned, 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 stoned again. Let's get stoned, 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 stoned again. And if you don't have no money, you don't have to worry, 'cause I got plenty of weed, man. You can come and get stoned with me. Every fucking day and every fucking night, I think about the world and how it's turned so shy.
Like Leeds United.
And I need some friends to moan with, so I can share my blues. Jason, Ade, Webby, and Ade on RACONTEURS News. Let's get stoned, 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 stoned again. Let's get stoned, 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 stoned again. And if you don't have no money, you don't have to worry, 'cause I got plenty of weed, man. You can come and get stoned with me. Come on, let's get stoned, 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 stoned again. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Let's get stoned, 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 stoned again. Yeah, let's get really hammered, man. And if you don't have no money, you don't have to worry, 'cause I got plenty of weed, man. You can come and get stoned with me. You can come and get stoned with me. Nice, man. You can come and get stoned with me.
And welcome back to this Tuesday evening episode of Raconteurs News, where I'm joined by...
You're muted, Andy.
Thanks for that, Paul. I'm gradually getting the hang of this YouTube thing. There's too many mute buttons. It's quite confusing, and one mutes for something, and another one it's complete pain. But hey, we're getting there. Welcome back to Tuesday night on Raconteurs News, where I'm joined by, as become the habit since Jason's been in hospital, Webby's the main man, and we've got Joan with us tonight. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So we were talking a little bit about the Georgia Guidestones before the break, and I mean, that little last bit I slipped in there, we don't play it very often, but I think it's a bit of genius from there. Let's get stoned from Heath.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I think we ought to bring up, because it's something we have talked about at length over the years on Raconteurs News, but we've kind of let it slip a bit lately. Cannabis seems to be the answer to so many of our problems. First of all, we're told that we got too much CO2. So, well, you'd think they'd stop chopping trees down, being as they're oxygen factories, but no, they're not. But if they planted hemp, it would remove the need to chop the trees down, because they grow so much quicker. They'll produce biomass, they'll produce paper, they'll also produce paper that lasts a damn sight longer and is better quality than you'll get from wood. But apparently William Randolph Hearst didn't like that, because he owned a lot of forests in North America, and he decided that they ought to make cannabis and hemp illegal. We've not only got that aspect of it, but you can build houses out of it, which don't crumble after 20 or 30 years like modern construction methods. Hempcrete actually gets harder as it gets older, and after about 20 years it turns into pure stone, so it's going to last as long as the bloody pyramids.
Yeah, fireproof, don't grow mold. Hempcrete's an amazing product, and we can clean the soil with it as well.
It cleans up the soil, it takes heavy metals out the soil. I believe it's been used in China quite extensively for detoxifying soils polluted with heavy metals. But then alongside that, you've got the big one that first opened my eyes to the cannabis plant, and that's the medicinal value. I mean, I went along for many years thinking, oh yeah, a little toke on some cannabis, that's nice, it puts you in a nice place, nice state of mind. But I didn't realize how medicinal it was. A friend came up to me best part of 10 years ago one day, and he says, oh, I can't get any weed this week. He says, fancy trying this? And he got a little tube of cannabis oil. And I went, what's that? He said, oh, it's great. He says, you just rub it on a Rizzler, skin up, smoke it, and he says, you get off your nut. And I went, oh, okay. So tried it, fantastic. And it was about 30. It was cheaper than buying weed and lasted about twice as long. I thought, wow, that's amazing. So next time I saw him, I said, can you get any more of that? He said, yeah, but he said, I think they've realized how good it is, and it's 250 quid a tube now.
Yeah.
And but there's people like Rick Simpson, Ricky Dwyer, and their friends who were so active all that time when they were making the film Run From the Cure, before that and during and after it. they've been persecuted dreadfully. Rick Simpson's living in exile because of what's happened. I mean, one would hope that he might be able to return to Canada now. They're talking about legalizing it, but legalization perhaps is not what so many people think it is, because they're all thinking, oh, okay, we can get our medicine and the government's not going to be on our back. They're not going to throw us in jail for growing a couple of plants, all that sort of thing. But no, legalization is a lot different to decriminalization, because if they legalize it, that means they're going to regulate it. That means they're going to tax it. I mean,
they're going to GM it. They're going to genetically modify it. We're not going to get natural cannabis.
Absolutely. And what that also means is, so by buying cannabis, you'll be funding wars. Aren't they going to love that? But also what you're going to find is, I believe has been found in quite a few of the states in the USA where it's been legalized, people are getting respiratory conditions as a result of smoking medical marijuana, because the medical stuff is the stuff that's messed about with by Bayer and Monsanto. So what you're going to effectively have is that, oh yeah, it's okay to use medicine. So we get the medicine and then it don't work. It doesn't work because they buggered about with it. It's a natural God-given plant that does what it needs to without any messing about. They're going to mess about with it. It won't work. And they'll say, see, we told you it won't work.
Yeah. There's a couple of articles during the break Monday that come up. 10th of July. What's this posted in now? Medium.com is talking about papers, please. Sheffield Council to demand residents carry ID. What is going on in Sheffield?
What? I've not heard that one. Where you got that from, Paul?
It was just come up on one of the news feeds. I've just got rid of it now. I was just only then that they're ordering the people in the council area, Sheffield Council, are ordering to carry IDs. I don't know what's going on. It's like the cities seem to now be going on overhaul. But we've got mass amounts of stabbings happening, and we've had quite a few attacks in Liverpool over the weekend. It's going to start spreading this, and there's something not right. There's something malevolent in the air. You can feel it, that there's people just champing at the bit, but they don't know which direction to go in. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to, they think it's this or they think it's that, when it is that and it is that, but that isn't the way. I think there's a lot of us, myself included, that you can find that you go down a certain route and you're right with it, but you get blocked off, so you've got to find a different route. And it's because of other people doing their routes. I've found other routes that could fit in and could do this. So you start tinkering about with stuff, and that's how everybody learns. But when all the egos and that are flying around, I know I'm right, it's this way. Well, bloody hell, maybe we should just all be happy then, because it should be done that way. Yeah, I've known people put everything on the line. Some people aren't even here anymore, but they believed it that much. But the system's a big system, so let's just get that tide that's turned. Let's just get that build up going now.
Yeah. And back to the cannabis, Andy, we have endocannabinoid systems, each and every one of us.
Oh, that's it. Well, that takes me back to a choice moment back from an old episode of RACONTEURS News. I don't know if you were listening tonight. We had Dr. Sarah Myhill on.
Yeah.
I mean, full of fantastic information about the ketogenic diet, but she came out with one comment, and she was talking about dangerous addictive drugs, and she said the fateful words like cannabis. Like, whoa, hang on a minute, hang on. I said
You
Hang
what?
on.
we're big advocate
Plant.
of the use of cannabis for its medicinal properties, and she went, oh well, I've seen people have problems, and okay. And then I think it was Unique Lee posted in the chat room. He said, "Can you please ask your guest if we have an endo alcohol system in our body?" And she
Because
went,
it's okay.
okay, obviously you guys know a lot more about this than me. I'm not going to talk about it anymore, which was fair enough.
But it's strange, isn't it? When the people start saying, "I'm not going to engage with you. I'm not going to talk to you anymore." Is that because they've run out of rhetoric, or because the beliefs are being challenged, or is it? Then you've got to look at yourself. Is it you that's trying to force your opinion onto someone?
Well, talking of forcing opinions, I'm getting a right bollocking now because I say hello to Joan from Dinny. He said she's a lovely, smashing lass. And apparently you grew up only a couple of streets away from each other, didn't you?
Yeah, I think Denny went to school with my younger brother at one point. So there you go. And it's through listening to yourself that, and RACONTEURS News, started chatting to Denny.
Yeah, he's
Patrick, listening.
Patrick, no, well, I did see that Patrick was, I think it was yesterday, he was in some lovely hotel in Sligo having a meal with his wife. So I wonder if they're perhaps away for a couple, because I did invite him to join us tonight, and I've not heard anything back from him. Maybe he's just got his computer switched off and having a day chilling out. But if you're listening to this either now or on the replay, which I know Patrick always does listen, you're more than welcome to join us, mate. We'd love to have you back on and have a chat with us. All I was a bit concerned about was with Patrick's health. We know he's had a bit of a heart scare a while back. He's gradually getting fitter and fitter. I know some people get a little bit nervous about talking when they think somebody else might be listening. So I didn't want to kind of put him under any stress or anything like that. But I don't think Patrick gets like that. He just thinks it's a few mates having a chat. And if anybody else is listening, well, so be it. Yeah.
That's it. I always treat it anyway on the radio. It's just me and people chatting. The comments.
Well, when I sort of drifted into it, I did a little bit on critical mass radio, and the kind of stats were like a national secret there, so we never knew how many were listening. But then when I decided to do Enemy Within with Tom, he told me about this show we did on a Saturday, and I said, right, it's on a US station. I said, do you get many listeners? He said, yeah, about 2 million, they reckon. And I went, what? And he said, well, it's only me and you on Skype. You don't see anybody. And I didn't realize how relevant the seeing people was till a couple of years. Well, it was September 2015. They had a mastermind competition at UFO Truth magazine conference, and they were short on numbers. So I said, I'll put my name down. I probably won't get picked, but just to make the numbers up. Sure enough, I got picked, and I ended up winning it. But it doesn't matter how many people you're talking to when you 3 or 4 of you on Skype just having a chat, because you can't see them. When you stood on a stage with a microphone, spotlights, and there's 300 faces looking at you, that's a different kettle of fish. I was nervous as hell. I was shaking like a leaf.
Remember Leeds?
Oh, I'd prefer not to.
Well, this is my very first time on camera. In fact, it's the first time I've used the camera on a laptop at all. But to join you.
Oh, we are.
Hey?
I say we're very honoured that you've got your camera on.
Oh, thank you. I thought I thought I dropped out there again. Yeah, it's when you invited me on, I had to come on and have a blather with you, and give my love to as well, please.
Oh, certainly will do. Yeah, she's listening in the background. But you've got someone else joining in the show with you now, who's an old stalwart of the PIR chat room, and we do miss him. I'd love to have a chat with him sometime.
Graham, he's great. He's another mind. That's what I love about these chat rooms and alternative media. There are so many in there with much information that they're always willing to share, you know. Now, you can take it or leave it. I mean, I have read so much rubbish as well and looked at so much rubbish, but I think you have to do that to get a reasonable idea of what is going on.
You don't
if
know
we
what's
ever
good.
can, but yeah.
If you don't look at the shite, you don't know what the good is, do you?
Yeah, that's it. So I think I've wasted hundreds and thousands of hours reading and listening to absolute nonsense, but it helps us. It's all about learning, isn't it? So,
well, if you go back to the old fairy tales, they always had to kiss a lot of frogs before they found the prince, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure Graham would come on with you some night. He's another great guy in terms of out there taking care of people, you know, and using his knowledge to support others. And for me, that's good enough. And sharing his knowledge to support others and help others become aware and to fight the battles that we always have within the system.
I think I found a podcast where Graham interviewed me. That was years ago, that.
No, that was Graham Hart.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, this is Graham GP. What's his
artist formerly known as Graham was his nom de plume in the chat room.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, oh.
Yeah, he came on one night and he's never left. He came on with us one night because it's Fairport that does the producing, and Graham come on one night and then the next. So it's now the three amigos on a Monday night. So
is Pat still on with you?
Pat came on last night actually. Pat was on last night again talking about this common law thing and how he sees it. In fact, I think he's going to look into it much more as well. He's quite keen to see how that can be developed. Yes, it's in its infancy, but we can focus all our energy in fighting a system that we are never going to. That we have to realise that this system has been built over centuries. And there has been an agenda behind that. And that agenda has never been about the ordinary man and woman. It's never been about taking care. And we only have to look at what's going on just now with disability payments, homelessness, everything, NHS. It takes something like 6 months to get a child a mental health appointment these days, children and adult mental health services. Now you're looking at high numbers of suicide in all of our countries at the moment, high numbers of depression, and high numbers of other issues, but we don't have those services there. And there is no doubt in my mind that under the Naylor report, the NHS is going to be sold off using the taxpayers' money to make a quick buck for, again, the greedy people, you know, that are in the position to make from that. So for me, we can use all that energy to fight that system, or we can focus on creating a system that's going to work for us all.
I think the system's certainly got to be addressed. The banking system itself, if it was regulated properly, it would be good for commerce. If we printed our own notes, you know, if we didn't rely on a private bank, if we would get out of this debt, well, we'd just forgive the debt. People don't understand that they're paying for nothing. You know, you mentioned the word utopian society, but when you look at it, everybody's doing the job for nothing because they are getting something on a promise, but they can't bridge that gap between the pieces of paper being nothing and what they're getting for it. They find that bit difficult.
Mhm.
And again, it goes back to unlearning.
A good example of the banking, what you said there, Paul, about the banking system working very well, would be Canada, because I mean we've already talked about Canada and Trudeau. Now Trudeau is he's obviously a chip off the old block, because
He's a bit of a weirdo.
Pardon?
Bit of a weirdo.
Oh, he's definitely a bit of a weirdo, but he got elected essentially because he promised to legalize cannabis. And for all those that you don't know, per head of population, apparently Canada are by far the biggest pot smokers on the planet. But he didn't do that, the same as his father didn't do that when he got elected on the same ticket. What his father did, he took an extremely wealthy and debt-free country called Canada, and he sold it out to the Rothschilds. And he allowed the Rothschilds to loan money into existence rather than printing its own debt-free currency. And suddenly Canada's in debt, just like everyone else, just like their lunatic neighbours on the southern border. Apology, that was a quote from a Canadian friend of mine. I know we've got quite a few listeners in the States. It looks like from the stats, about 10% of our listeners are in the States. So that wasn't me saying that you're all lunatics. That was one of your neighbours in the north in Canada there. I know that'll give Ricky a giggle anyway. But yeah, he essentially ripped the heart out of Canada and gave it to the Rothschilds. Now,
when it comes to banking and the financial system, usury has to go.
Yes.
If we eradicate usury and have a system, I don't know if either of you have looked at Mike Montagna or heard Mike, Mathematically Perfected Economy.
No.
No, that seems to me to be an answer to that. But the system of banking at the moment is certainly not in our interest and never will be until usury is eradicated.
I've looked at the Mathematically Perfected Economy, and my biggest bugbear with it is it's too bloody complicated.
It is rather complicated, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we always say, and I know Paul's particularly fond of saying it, if it's not simple enough for a 5-year-old to understand, there's something wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
We're not quite getting something. There's got to be, but as you were talking about the common law stuff, the common law is the perfect remedy. It's just nothing is being recognised in this country other than county and magistrates' courts. And they're not for us. They're not our remedies. They tried to make it look like they are, but they're flipping the jurisdictions that many times. You spend more time asking what jurisdiction are you under than trying to get any evidence from them or to try and give anything. Have you been following the ITNJ, Joan?
Yeah, I've had a look at a few of those testimonies. So powerful, Paul. I mean, Ronald Bernard.
Yeah.
Oh, John Wedger did his. They're just so powerful. Yeah, I've been following that as well, and it'll be interesting to see how that develops. I actually, during the USA elections, I was following. Is it Robert David Steele or David Robert? That's one of the two.
Yeah.
I was following his take on what was going on because, I mean, there's so much rubbish out there, isn't there? But I was following him as well, and I like what they've done. I'm hoping that that's going to raise awareness of exactly what's going on, because people don't want to believe these things are happening. But when you have people like Ronald Bernard saying, yes, they are, I've been part of it.
Yeah. I mean, the people now, they're still trying to debunk these people. I've seen quite a few attacks coming against them. I know John's posted a bit of a vlog about it because, you know, he's trying to tell people that he's coming from a place where he's had to put himself on the line. He knows the people who are doing it. Mm-hmm. I personally know people who put themselves into positions that they put their head above the parapet. It's all well and good saying you believe this, you believe that. But at the end of the day, you can only work with whatever is in front of you. And I've spoken to these people. John's put me in touch with. I'm going to ask Michelle Young to come on. She was part of the ITNJ.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to these people, and they're passionate about what they're doing. Who knows? I don't know them from Adam. They don't know me, but they've reached out. Why will I not talk to them? They've got something there, especially with the group that they're getting together there, and they've made a movement. It's just there's a lot of distraction going on. There's a lot of distraction going on. The Tommy Robinson stuff, just that's not going to go away. And yes, the free speech thing is the angle. He's been stopped from this free speech stuff. But coming out now, there's articles stating that there's an pro-Israeli team that is funding his legal stuff. There's something just not right. Do you know what I mean? When you can't quite put your finger on it, but there's something not right. Yeah, people want to wave an Israeli flag and sing "God Save the Queen" for him. It's mad.
It's crazy. I haven't followed the Tommy Robinson stuff very much at all. He knew he would be arrested when he did that because he was under bail conditions. So I don't know what's going on there. But for me, it's another one of these distractions. The free speech. Free speech. Has speech ever been free? Really? I don't know that it has. But I believe everybody is entitled to free speech. And if anybody takes offence, that's fine. When it becomes hatred and against a group of people. See, I think we're all brothers and sisters across the globe. We all came from the same creator, I think.
Joan, just let me pick up on the little point. Free speech. Free speech is all right up to the point where it becomes hatred against a group of people. Now, there's an incident. I don't want to go into any details because it involves two friends of mine, neither of which I want to embarrass. It's cropped up this week, and it involves one particular incident in history, which we're all told we must not question. If you question it in certain countries, even on this continent, you will go to jail. And that is the Holocaust. Now, I've seen an awful lot of evidence to suggest that the version of that period of time that we were told was nothing like true. I've even looked at the figures that Red Cross give for the number of people that died in concentration camps. And I believe the latest figure has been revised down to about 120,000.
You only just have to go look at the World Jew Census prior to the war. To see
why is this that why, if there is evidence there, why is it that people can't even look at it? What is controlling that? What is stopping that? If somebody could make their life better by looking at new information, then why wouldn't you look at it? What keeps them stuck in that? I know what's broke the boundaries for me. That was when they come and kick me in the balls and punch me in the mouth. When they were doing that to me, that woke me up, because all the other, as soon as you start looking into the law side of it and the civil and the criminal and how these people work together, and then the secret societies, and then you can't help but look at the secret societies where they stretch out to, what businesses are all linked through all this stuff, and you start going, I think there might be a pattern here, and yet people going, you're a knobhead, you don't know what you're talking about. Have you looked at this? No. Well, do you not think you're the knobhead then? It's...
And I guarantee most people will say, no, I'm not the knobhead.
Well, here's the thing. We see so much of a problem with science, in the established scientific community, it is about getting funding. And if you start to question certain things, you will not get funded. So, an example being Nick Colostrom, and when he wrote a book asking certain questions about the Holocaust, he was immediately sacked from the university where he'd held tenure for about 15 years as a history professor, wasn't he?
Yeah.
We see 80-odd-year-old grandmothers have been thrown into jail for asking questions. I mean, to me, if that's happening, then there is something seriously wrong that we are not allowed to question what happened. But it's perfectly well to go back and say, okay, for argument's sake, we're told that John Logie Baird invented the television. But then when we suddenly find out there was this young boy in America who was out ploughing the fields with an ox, and he invented television slightly before, we can question that. But if you question the Holocaust or you question certain other subjects, and you're in academia, suddenly you're Mr. Unemployable.
Well, it's about the truth. Why would the truth need protecting in law? The truth stands as the truth. It cannot be anything else. If it's true, then it is the truth. But you take it back to what Joan brought up with Jordan Peterson. You talk about academia. The far left ideology that Jordan Peterson's pointing at is where they start to take subtle control of language, and they was going to make it law that you had to use a certain term, otherwise you would be facing a fine and getting sacked. Now that is the universities then training. Look at what the barristers and the judiciary did to Ernst Zundel because he wrote a book on the Holocaust, Andy. You know, this is where you then bring Fred Leuchter into it, who, you know, as a gas chambers expert, he, you know, by the time he finished laughing, he could just about say, could never be and never has been a gas chamber. Now, you're going to just dismiss that. How can you just dismiss that? Because he goes to the proper gas chambers that are delousing clothing, and they're all piped up, engineered as you'd expect German engineering. Safely in, safely out. Yet, no, all of a sudden they chisel 3 fucking holes in the ceiling and drop something in. And there's a crematorium. There's all these questions, but you can't ask those questions. And that's what makes me suspicious. If you're laughed at and ridiculed, there's a reason, but give good reason. Don't just do it and not have any reasons. But you have a lot of, I think we talked about this before, on the repetitive parrots. You know, they've heard something and they repeat it. And that's great because they, you know, I've had conversations with people and it sounds like they completely know what they're talking about. But also I've been with people who then when the conversations got deeper and probed deeper, we've both been able to give each other a bit more information. Really good information has been, you know, exchanged. But then there's others who just have soundbite information, not naming any names.
Well, I remember, it was a while back. We had Dave Gagan on, Deja Vu, and I think it was him who posed the little bit of a riddle. He said there's a phrase, practice makes what, begins with a P and ends with a T. And we're all taught practice makes perfect. No, it doesn't. It makes a bloody parrot. And that's what the education system is churning out. It's churning out parrots who can parrot information that they've been told is true, but the ability to think critically, to analyze that information and to see if there is any truth in it or whether it's all true or none of it's true, that ability's been removed, because this is true, and if you step outside of these bounds, you will be attacked. And that to me, that isn't science, that isn't learning, that isn't education. It's just indoctrination, pure and simple.
Paul said it earlier, the unlearning is hard. Hey, I've parroted. I believed the history I was taught. Because, yeah, you go to school, you're taught history, you know, oh, right, okay, and you believe all that until you start unearthing things. For example, the potato famine in Ireland.
We had a great chat with Ben Gilroy about the potato famine, didn't we?
Yeah.
Was it Chris Fogarty who wrote the book in that? I think that's the right guy. He wrote a book in that. There was a Holocaust in Ireland. There wasn't a potato farm. And again, the evidence is there. The evidence is there on the ship's logs that were taking all the food away from Ireland. Oh, but we're allowed to question that now, you know. But Paul said it earlier, the unlearning and the cognitive dissonance that creates is really quite difficult to go through. And that's maybe what keeps people back from questioning as well, because it is confusing, it is difficult to accept that stuff you've believed for most of your life or half of your life is actually nonsense.
You're really up against the same problem with your average Joe in the street as you are with the academics. It's that people really don't want to know that everything they've been taught and everything they've believed up to this point in their life is either lies, misinformation, disinformation, deception, because the whole foundation of what they believe is their life, although it may actually be an unwitting slavery, they just don't want to be informed that, hang on, everything you think you know is wrong. I've got a book here that is next on my list to read. There we go. Everything you know is still wrong. That's the follow-up to his first book, Everything You Know Is Wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to reading that. It's a great shame that we haven't got Lloyd Pye around anymore.
They're the people, what you're talking about, and they're the people that are even thinking, though. I mean, you've got the people who are jumping up and down on ambulances because a football game's been won. How are you going to then interpret this to people to help them help themselves and help others? Because voting somebody in and leaving this to somebody else when this system is, despite how many people, good people there may be in the system and more coming out, you need something. You need to start thinking about some kind of helping what you can do. Is it writing letters? Is it doing something? Is it asking questions? Is it research? Is it, things happening to you that's out of your control? It's a friend of mine pointed out today, within the past 4 weeks, she has personally witnessed now 3 potential jumpers on motorway bridges that she's passed.
Wow.
And the last one was today. And she was being talked down. She'd phoned the police. The police were en route. She found out there was somebody has jumped today. She doesn't know if it was the one she passed. But she said she says, how does this life get so bad where even though you've got family and you've got kids, how does life get so bad that you will do that? That's your only hope. That's your only thing left for you to do. And there is no answer, because, I personally know this, that if they've got to the point where there is nothing else, then they're going. when they're still telling people, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, then that's somebody please stop me, I don't know what I'm doing. But, you know, what is happening? There's a lot of shit going on. All this stuff is, there's so much going on, and people are kept so distracted. And don't forget Love Island's on as well. You know, you can't expect miracles here, Andy, not just your heads.
No
offence if you're a Love Island fan, Joan.
No, I'm not a television fan at all, Paul, so none taken. I think I watch television about 4 or 5 times a year. When my young'uns were young, I used to watch a few things a week with them. And now my son will say, "Oh, Mum, come watch this. It's really good," or whatever. The last thing I watched with him was Homeland. Really well written, really well written. But actually shows you, for me, it's like these things are happening, you know.
We used to watch Homeland because that was kind of one of the last things we really watched on television. I believed we watched the first 2 seasons, and then after that, it just seemed to degenerate into just trash. I don't know what your thoughts were about whether you continued watching it, Joan.
Well, I did, because that was your wee thing. Joe and I would watch Homeland together. The first 2, you're right. I mean, the twists, the turns, incredibly well done. But no, other than that, I only watch television rarely actually. And if I do have the television on, it tends to be YouTube I'm on.
Oh, you've got one of those wonderful smart tellies that listens to you and records everything that happens. Films you, have you? Oh, he's still there, Joan. You've frozen, Joan. Hello.
Think I dropped out there, did I?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah. No, television. If I had my way, television would be confined to the dustbin. Television, mobile phones. Let's start a room 101.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we actually start to use this technology for the benefit of everybody, and start. You know, there's no way all these people who in this society, and every single one of us has been dysfunctional because we haven't. Everything's been brought. We've been brought up on everything that has been wrong. And we're all fumbling about in the dark. We're all turning torches on. We're all starting to look at all this stuff. But people have got to have time to look at it. And then, you know, at this moment, they've not got the time. But I don't know what. Go on, sorry, Andy.
I thought you'd finished there, but I saw an excellent illustration yesterday of how controlled the whole media and social media thing is, because I saw a post from Max Egan, and Max, I think it was worded something like Israeli terrorism warning. It appears that the Israeli government have now closed all the entrances and exits to the Gaza Strip. Watch this space. And I went to share it, and you know, on Facebook, when you click the share button and the options come up, you can click the share button until you was blue in the face, but nothing happened. So I thought, well, normally some information like that, I wouldn't just share it without checking it out. But I did try and check it out, and of course, there's no large news organisations reporting that. So I did share it straight away. And I had a conversation with someone a little while later, and they said, well, do you know it's actually real? I said, well, I know that Max has got contacts there and he's got connections there. He's actually, I believe he's lived out there for a while. So he has got contacts there. He will know what's going on there. But I said, as far as verifying what he'd said on any sort of mainstream media, you haven't got a cat and else chance, because the world's media is owned by a very small group of people, and they all seem to be Zionists.
Well, a relation of mine, Andy, texted me a couple of days back. He was having he said debate, but I know the guy who it is. I know it normally ends up in an argument. But he was trying to tell this guy, and he was asking me for some credible sources. And I said, it depends what you think is a credible source, because you've jumped on posts where I've posted something, and you've said, oh, this is rubbish, rubbish, rubbish. And then I'll bring another 4 articles from different sources to show that this is a credible source. But because you've never heard of it, it's not credible. So you're going to have to do that research for yourself. I said, by all means, go and look at, there's loads of sites that I've posted on and what other people, loads more, what other people have done. You've got to do it yourself, because I wouldn't want anybody to just believe what I was talking about. It's all about it's about finding out for yourself. I think we've lost Joan, Andy.
Oh dear, she's lost. Well, I hope she gets back to us before we finish, because we're just about getting back up.
Well, I just want to bring up our friend of the show, Lindsay Davis. She's got a bit of a bee in a bonnet right now.
I've seen it. I've no idea what. I've tried looking what it's about, and I can't really seem to get to the bottom of it. I'm not kind of connected into that sort of thing. So,
right. Well, Lynn's goes to a lot of shows, gigs and stuff like that. So she's forever trying to get tickets for different venues, and it seems to be at the minute, because I've heard his name from so many different people in different walks of life. There's this guy called Michael Juma that, must advertise. I don't know anything about him personally, but he must advertise that he can get tickets for people. And people are being left up to the last minute, being stood outside the venue, and nobody's turning up, no tickets, no refunds. And yet nothing's been done about him. So it seems that because he's done it to Lynn's now, he might have... use the straw that's broke the camel's back type thing.
Yeah, I did when I saw that, and she kind of asked me to join this group, and I thought, ooh, I don't know what he's done, but I certainly wouldn't want to be in her shoes.
Well, it certainly brought a lot of people out. There's a lot of people come out about him. I mean, I heard his name quite a few years back, but it just struck me as a tout. I've never used touts because you never know what you're getting with touts. But he seems, he's I think Lindsay said it's like 3 weeks, and it's just clearing in my account and you're going to get it. So people like that, they're using must be like a liquidity type thing, because I don't know how you can sustain that. But then she's going on about his businesses, so people need to be aware that there's still people out there that, despite all the people that we're meant to be looking at, it's the ones that you think are the most innocent, where you're trying to get tickets for loved ones, and people are having your eyes out. So it seems like he certainly picked a wrong one to offend with Lynn's.
Yeah, I did see she was going to upload a routine about that. Well,
there's already a 15-minute routine going round in her head.
I'm really looking forward to seeing that, and make sure you tell Lynn's next time you see her she's welcome. Come back on any time. Hopefully we won't get firebombs coming through the letterbox after she comes on next time. But we're getting close to wrapping up, and I see that Joan's managed to come back to us. So we'll be back. I would imagine we'll be doing a Tuesday show next week again, because I'm planning on visiting Jason on Monday. So
I won't be here next week at all, Andy.
Okay, well, I'll have to sort out a good guest then, and we'll do something. But
I'll tell Graham to come on.
Okay, well, you and GP, that would be brilliant. But and get Patrick on, and we'll maybe get Dinny to join us and have a good old rabbit. But we'll save that for one day. But what I'd like to do is to give you the last few minutes. We started a bit late, so we'll call it 10 minutes, Joan. And I'd like you to tell us where people could find you, where they can find your podcasts, and also anything that you've got planned in the near future that you'd like to give a plug to.
Okay, we do a Monday night in People's Internet Radio from 9 to 11. Next week, we have John Wedger. Definitely worth a listen. I'm really looking forward to speaking to John. I mean, some of the stuff he's doing is just incredible. He's going to swim around the Isles of Scilly. He's doing a major cycle as well, all to raise funds to help victims of abuse. But he's got a story to tell, and he is a man of integrity. He has stood in honour, and he has stood in integrity in highlighting what's going on. So, yeah, you can get me at People's Internet Radio. There's only 1 or 2 pods up. I am currently learning the production side, Andy. So the technology stuff is kind of doing my head in because I've never been techie, but I'm getting there. So, yeah. It's been an absolute pleasure to be on with you. Give my love to Tina, love to Dinny and Patrick and everybody else that I've chatted with over the years in the chat rooms, because I'm just grateful that people like you are out there, because it's a lonely world when you're at where we're at in terms of unlearning, if you like. And people don't get it. So it's great to have people like you out there. I thank you, Andy. I mean, you've certainly switched some lights on for me over the years as well. Paul, the work you do is fantastic. So
thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure to be on with you. And now I'm going to cover that camera up again.
Yeah, you were saying that you know, without us, it'd be a lonely place. And I'd just like to give a mention to a few that have been in the chat tonight, because without them, we were just talking to ourselves. So, first of all, one of our most avid fans at the moment is tonight. He's Legless Leeds, and
I'm shocked.
He's fantastic. He's done so many kind things that people don't necessarily get to know at. Oh, we've got Stroke My Scrotum in the chat room as well. So I'm wondering if that might be Heath. Managed to get logged in the chat room while he was in the hospital with Jason. And in YouTube, we've got a fine old crowd in there. We've got Society of the Spectacles founders now. Great to have you back, Sots. There's Dinny there. Good old Dinny. He's flying off down to Spain tomorrow, so he'll be just a little greasy blob by the time of the weekend gets here. There's John Hill. John is absolutely fabulous guy. He's always messaging me. I know he's written to Jason since he's been poorly, and he's just such a kind guy. And he does some work for us behind the scenes. When you see the write-ups on the website and on YouTube, giving a brilliant description of what the show is about, John's done that for us. And I'd like to say a big thank you to John, because it's a job that we really were getting behind with, and he's helped out so much. We've also got Mahat Malevolence in there. Hiya, Mahat. Good to see you around. We've got Rob Harper. We've got the Fubar 1066. Going back. And we've got Tony in. That looks... Oh, we've got Andrew K. Fletcher in the chat there as well. So we've been getting fantastic response to last week's shows with Andrew. So many people saying they've tried it and it's doing this, it's doing that. It's absolutely fabulous. So
I really must have a go at that.
Well, Dinny's promised he's going to do it when he gets back from Spain. And he's not just promised me, he's promised Andrew in the chat tonight. So I think we can really take it that Dinny's promised all the listeners as well. So Dinny, there's no backing out now, kidder. I'd just like to say thanks to everybody for listening, but a special big thanks to Joan and
Joan,
for joining me tonight. It's been a great couple of hours. I hope
you'll probably be really interested in knowing that if England win tomorrow, that they'll be playing France in the World Cup final.
Nope.
1505 all over again, isn't it?
Hey, they're on about another bank holiday, you know. If England win it, they're all saying they want a bank holiday. Another day till they can launder some money.
So we're going to have another Battle of Waterloo, are we?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys. Great show.
On that note, I'd just like to say good night to Jason if he's still listening. Good night to Heath.
Much
Take
love
it
to
easy,
Jason.
Can't wait to get you back on, Jason, but we only want you back when you're well enough to do it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Take care, everyone, and we'll be back next week. I'm just going to play it out with this song and dedicate it to Jason and to Heath.
I smell like coal. Gotta get the wiggies cause I'm off to the hole in the road. I'm walking off school and I'm off to the city, watching telly all night and I'm not looking pretty. See, I got this job downtown, selling knocked off ladies watches for £1. For a really dodgy man that I met in a dodgy cafe. You know, he said to me, the girl who sold these yesterday wasn't selling very carefully. Police came along and took her and all my watches away. So if you see some coppers, you grab my stuff and leg it, boy, right away. I'll be in the cafe. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way through life. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way through life. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. So it's been a few hours and I haven't sold enough for my bus fare home. Street seller's pretty tough, so I turn on the charm for the lunchtime rush. With a smile and a wiggle on my schoolboy touch. So the charm is working in the underground. There's a crowd of men and women gather round, and the watches they are going, the money is a flowing. Think I'll take a little extra, stick it in my pocket, spend it later. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way through life. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way through life. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I haven't sold a watch for an hour and I'm dying for a slash. I've had enough of this, so I'm off for a piss. Then a quick walk back round to the cafe. Sitting at his table drinking tea, looks at me suspiciously. Then with a glance at the watch he says, how did you do? He paid me a couple of quid, then he said, would you like to come and work another day? I said I'd come back down on Friday, and to that he said okay. So with £2 in my pocket and another 5 in my shoe, I nipped down to Castle Market where the man who looks like Leo Sayer is selling pots with cockles and prawns. You make me feel like dancing. Then off back to dinner on the Wiggies and then home. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield, making his way. I'm just a boy from Sheffield.